Okay, finally we have 40 friends online, and I believe it's good time to begin. So, dear Ari, thank you so much for joining us, and if you are ready, so we can start. Over to you.
Thank you, Andre, and welcome everybody. This is supposed to be a practical gathering, practical workshop, practical. So, and practical means that you are doing something, you are trying to walk somewhere, and the more I have had some workshops around in Amsterdam, in Copenhagen, in a few weeks in Stockholm, in Stavanger, in Norway, and the more I do it, and actually the more I read Steiner, the more I read the Bible, the more I become aware that they are all talking about a path, and doors or portals or come. Nobody comes to the Father except through me. I am the path and the life. You find it very much in the Bible, actually, that Jesus talks about a path, that you have to walk a path, that you have to go somewhere, you have to move in the spiritual world. And that is what we are trying. Of course, there are several paths into the spiritual, at least 4 paths. One that lead to the door of the sun, one that leads to the door of the elements, one that leads to the door of death, and one that leads to the door of light. And we are using different spiritual bodies of ourselves to walk these paths. And we started off actually by using our elemental components. You might call it elemental body, or you might call it physical body, to reach the door of the elements. But of course, you can use your astral body and walk with that to the door of death, or the etheric to the door of the sun. That is fully possible. But in this working group, we have sort of chosen, you might say, or preferred the path through the elemental world. So how is that going, my dear friends? How are you doing? Are you taking some steps? Tell me and ask. Or ask.
Dear friends, please don't be shy and raise your electronic hand.
Because this is not supposed to be a lecture. It is because it's supposed to be practical and of course a little theory must join the practical, but mostly practical.
Well, I can speak.
Yeah, go ahead, Stephen.
Hello, Ari.
Hello,
Oh.
Anthony.
Good
to see
center.
you.
Okay.
Good to see you. Life and other issues, work, etc., have taken me away from really following the path as we did some months ago. And I'm in the process now of catching up. I will try to review the videos that have been recorded and pick up from there. And quite sad about it, really. But such it is. And what you say about the Bible is interesting because as of late, I have also been doing that. I have a Bible beside me, and at breakfast, I open it up and I read a verse. And I began recently with Genesis. And currently, I'm working on a series, 4 films with other people on diamonds. What are truly diamonds? And of course, we know Steiner said that carbon is the basis for the philosopher's stone. It is the philosopher's stone. And essentially, we are carbon. And so I think to myself, is that we are the philosopher's stone in transition, in the process of going through the heat and pressure that carbon has to go to become the hardest substance on earth and the purest. And so with Genesis, it's interesting because I wondered about the name Adam. What does Adam mean? And so going back to the Greek and I guess the ancient Aramaic, etc., it is the invincible one. So relating that to diamonds, diamonds are the invincible matter in our existence here on earth. The hardest substance, the most beautiful, and the longest lasting. And when De Beer said diamonds last forever, he was partly right. Of course, it was a marketing thing on one side, but on the other side, there was truth to it. And it's that truth that resonates within us. So I bring that up because when I thought about the name Adam, where did that come from? Adam is Adamas, could be Greek, ancient Aramaic, etc. But that means the invincible one. And that was the name given to the creation at the creation, to Adam, the invincible one. So what is it about Adam that is invincible? Well, of course, we know it's a spirit that is invincible, which continues. And so I bring that up because by reading the Bible, one can dive into what Steiner has said and make of that what we can bring to an understanding for ourselves and for others. And so that triggered my speaking about it, because when you said that the Bible and Steiner's work are side by side comparable, of course. At any rate, I'll stop there. Thank you.
Yeah, there are 2 more.
Okay, Patty, please. Patty.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Yes, I have a question. So I feel like I've been following the path for over 3 years, and I live in the countryside in the woods, and my concentration exercises started in the woods. But now I do a lot of it in the house, and a lot of it, you mentioned last time about if we want to follow the elemental path to go through artificial lights and things of nature, things man-made maybe. So I've been doing that, and I feel like I've come somewhere which feels like I'm inside, um, almost like a crystal light. And so the light is colored and it's streaming at me either horizontally over my head, or else it's in almost like a shimmering veil, and it's pulsating and moving. And sometimes I feel like it's like mathematics. The movement feels like geometric shapes. And I feel like sometimes I see a face there, but sometimes I don't. But I just keep concentrating. I do my practice twice a day, mornings and evenings. And I feel like I'm definitely moving through to some realm, and I see little beings that I think are like, they remind me of the Steiner dolls that my children had in kindergarten. They're shaped like a little head with arms that go out into a triangle, but it's just light. But they look almost like a little doll to me. And so I'm curious about the doors when you describe doors, because the English language is such a weird thing, because as soon as you say door, imagine a door, we all imagine a different door. I imagine a blue door, you imagine a green door. We all have memories of doors. So I don't know if I'm supposed to actually see a door, or is it more like just a feeling of going through something?
No, when Rudolf Steiner called it the door, and Jesus also talked about he was the door to the Father. It is actually, I will tell you something interesting. It is actually looking like a door.
Oh,
And I had this discussion in Amsterdam some time ago, and there was one woman there, elderly woman, who had, it seemed to me, she knew everything and had read everything that Steiner had written privately or officially, and she was very skeptical to what I said. And in the middle of this talk, she said to me, "These doors, these four doors, are they on a line or are
yeah.
they on a circle?" And I didn't know that Steiner had actually described this in a letter to a friend,
Oh,
and she had read this letter. So I said they are actually both on a line and also on a circle around the earth.
oh.
And suddenly she smiled up, and after that she accepted me.
Wow.
So it is
A
when
door.
you stand in front of one of the doors,
Yeah.
you can actually see all the doors to the right and to the left. And I haven't actually said very much that before, I think. Maybe I have. But it seems that Steiner had described some of the same, and it looks like doors. And the guardian on the threshold looks like a threshold.
Oh,
So yes, and you cannot get into the spiritual world with outside a door. That's why Jesus said, "I am the only door."
mm.
So I think this expression with door is very literal. Why it is like that, I do not know, but what is this? Some alarm?
Oh,
I don't care about it. Look a little more.
well, that's great. Thank you, Ari, because
Oh,
I was trying to imagine the smoke alarm.
something. No, what is that? Uh, there it stopped. Some sort of alarm, and now the alarm company will probably call me and ask if everything's okay. But maybe not. I have the phone ready. Okay, the doors. So, and after that, I've been also thinking when I was reading, especially the Bible, it's quite many references to door. Yeah. Now they call. Ja, Are Thoresen. Ja, jeg ser det pep, og jeg har slått av, tror jeg. Ja, jeg har ikke noe fyring engang. Jeg har ingenting. Jeg røyker ikke, så den gikk av seg selv. Nei. Ja, Glabella. Og på litt siden så var jo dette i låven. Der holdt den på å gå flere ganger, så nå gikk den inn i huset, eller hvor enn den gikk. Så det kan være den samme, og det er noe gærent med den. Nei. Men du, jeg sitter i en Zoom nå. Kan jeg Ja. Ja, takk. Ha det. Registered as a false alarm, and maybe they will change the smoke detector because it's no smoke. Okay, sorry, such things happen. Yeah, so after, as I told you, I've been seeing these doors for some years' time, and but it sounded a little. It sounded a little, yeah, sort of stupid to say it is like a door because it's like sort of a little childish. But when Steiner also had described it as doors on a line in a letter to a friend, not officially, I dare to say it.
Yeah. Ari, we had some homework, which are 4 exercises of raising hand, astral, elemental, etc. Maybe it makes sense to hear some reports on it, because it's specifically devoted to these particular exercises. I understand there's many questions anyways, but yeah, can we hear it? So Stephen is next. Stephen, go ahead. Unmute yourself, please. You're muted. Excellent.
Very good. I guess I'm more of a basic practitioner here, but I did have some possible indications I'm doing something right or along the path. I was using a candle on a wood TV tray and table, and on occasion the whole TV tray with the candle would kind of jump around vertically mainly, and it seemed like that was something that we're looking for and then to fade into.
That was the question?
Correct.
Yes. Well, you see, you can fade into anything. And I think and it seems that some think this is easier, some thinks that other things are easier. You can fade into a flame, you can fade into the air, you can fade into water, you can fade into all the things. Because as long as you fade into a structure, then you are moving in the elemental world. You could fade into something etheric, then you are traveling in the etheric world or the astral. But we have chosen the elemental. So yes, whatever suits you. You have to try different things.
Okay.
And I have had people who had tried this light for for half a year, 3/4 of a year, and they come nowhere, and then they change to something else, and it's easier for them. Just
Okay.
try and see where you can move, where actually you move into the elemental.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Jordan, please. Jordan is still muted.
Jordan, have
Sorry
to
about
unmute.
Sorry. Hello. I was just gonna do like a quick review of moving the separate bodies. So for our elemental body, we're really focusing on the structure of, like, for instance, our hand, or if we were to move from a different part of our body, it would be the structure. The astral is the feeling, the etherics, the life force, and then for the I, the ego would be the warmth of the blood. And I was curious when we reached the doors, like the door of the sun. So for me, when I was traveling to reach the doors, I was using my elemental body. But then once I got to the doors, that's when we can split, like we can choose which body to use to move through. Like, for instance, the door of death at that moment is when we would then start using our astral body to travel through the doorway of death. Is that correct?
I think you see this phenomenon, when you have reached one door, you can observe the other doors, as I just told.
Mhm.
And you can also receive teaching from the guardians of these doors. But it seems, at least for me, that I cannot pass the door. If I
Okay,
am to pass the door, I have to go the whole path.
I see. Okay.
And then you have to start at the sort of beginning for the door of death, or you have to start at the beginning for the door of the sun, which is described in the 19 lessons, or in the elemental, and or in the blood, the door of light, the Christ door. Yes?
Okay. Yeah, I think I had a different experience with the doorway of death because when I was fading, and I've been working like with the doorway of death for about a year,
Hmm.
and like most recently, about 2 months ago, when I was like greeted by the guardian of the doorway of death. Well, there was the three of them, but the one that I walked with was like the eldest, like the crone. And she took me through the doorway of death, and so that's where I was curious if I was splitting, like I had already traveled and I was standing there, and it felt to me like I was moving with the astral because it felt very related to karma, and I, for some reason, feel like the astral and karma are related.
Yeah.
That's at least what I was experiencing. So I was kind of trying to figure out how how I was like moving with the different bodies, even though after I had traveled. Um, so that was just my experience. I don't know. It probably differs for everybody, but I did have a question about the
No,
moving with.
I must say that this is very much like I experienced it too.
Oh, okay. Okay, good.
So
Uh,
I recognize what you say very much.
Okay. Yeah, it was, I mean, it's been, I mean, I would say incredibly intense, what I've been through, but I'm grateful for the experience. But it's, the doorway of death has been something that I never, expected. So, but I did have a question about the ego, the I consciousness, and moving with the warmth of the blood, and how it may be related, to the heart, and specifically the secret chamber of the heart. If there's any, do you feel any relation to that?
Yeah, what I am actually working with that these days, just what you asked. And the first knowledge that at least I received on that path was experiencing the disciples, what they did and did not, and observing or actually experiencing that Christ did not do very much as himself, but he worked through his disciples. And he was speaking or healing or doing these things through the disciples, so that this created a pattern. And that was not because each disciple relates to a zodiacal stream or a sign, and then bring something into the world in different ways. And all that they did created a pattern all over Israel or Palestine, was called that time, maybe. And that is actually exactly where I'm working, this to see this pattern in Israel. But that is just the beginning of that. That is a very complicated path. Days now I've been observing this pattern, but I still don't understand it.
Yeah. The reason I ask is because there was a particular healing that I had within my heart that brought me to the secret chamber of my heart, and it was clear to me that that's where the Christ consciousness lives within. Like, we have that power, and after that moment, after that healing that I had through traveling through the elemental, specifically meeting Anna, is when like the whole healing happened. And then I was taken in, it was basically like I went in to my body and into my heart and was shown the secret chamber. And through that experience is like I spoke to last time, not in this workshop, but our theoretical workshop, is when I was able to have more power over the elemental beings when I was doing the work with the chemtrails and opening them up. It was like through that experience of healing that part of my heart and kind of understanding where the Christ force lives within me, I was able to have more dominion, I guess, over where I was using my will to open up the middle and invite in the Christ. And so I'm just thinking about when traveling through that doorway of light, or at least trying to move through that doorway of light, how I guess finding that same power. I guess I just don't understand the warmth of the blood necessarily, but I can feel it within the secret chamber of the heart. So that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Yeah. Well, I think that is part of that. You see, this opening the middle, transforming, that is part of the three occultisms, or belongs to the three occultisms, which is done in the elemental world. But of course, with Christ, and that can make it a little difficult because to understand or explain, because Christ is, of course, the dominator, the important thing of all the paths, all the gates. He is all the gates. Nobody comes to the Father except through him. And he have these different sort of possibilities. But one of these, the door of light, is more like the Bible or the life of Christ as pattern. But all of them are, so I cannot answer exactly your question. It seems that you are still in the elemental as you do is opening the middle occultism.
Hmm.
But at this point, as you explain, you have to probably answer many of your questions.
Yeah.
We are, all of us are co-travelers. I am not. I can only give examples from my very limited experience, although that experience is a little more than the average. It is still very small. So thank you.
Thank you very much. So I believe Leland is next. Leland?
Thank you. Ari, I wanted to say I'm another person who at your last presentation gained a lot from the comments you made about the Bible, and that connection that actually answered a number of questions that I'd actually been paying attention to, and so it was very meaningful. Thank you. In my practice, since we last met together with the fading, using elements such as fire, snow, trees, things, I have not really experienced, I have the experience of being present at a doorway or a trailhead or an opening, an expanse that moves out. I'm aware of presence, but I'm not experiencing the kinds of imaginations that you have described and other people have described, nor have I sensed sort of the appearance of a path to move forward. I've tried various things, but I seem to just be very comfortably present, but not moving. On the other hand, what I have been experiencing when I get out and like move actually physically with my body, walk through nature or a hike through nature, seeking to, practice in motion, as it were, I do have been having wonderful experiences that I maybe are more like inspirations of communication, of awareness of specific beings, tree spirits, etc., and conversations and humor, and delight and joy and invitation to engage or do different things. So that's what I've been experiencing, and just didn't know if you have a comment or advice for me.
Yeah, well, what you describe is exactly how I would describe my first 20 years of these exercises. Exactly. I would use the same words. So I think that is a training level. And I stood at that level for 20 years. But I didn't know personally that it was possible to go further, but maybe I needed that time. Maybe you need that time. I think this to be patient is very important, but not too patient, of course. But as I said, that is, you are on the path, you are there. And then you just have to find the technique or the power or the will, maybe the will, the will, yeah, to penetrate further, will and seriousness to penetrate further, maybe.
Very good. Thank you. Maybe the only other thing I would mention is that not in this series, but in the theoretical workshops, when you talked about exercises like with air spirits, working with the blue sky and things like that, for me, that's always present. I instantly, in seconds, can make myself available, and the air spirits appear and are dancing. But again, to fade further, to go through the air spirits, the next, again, I get there and going through. But thank you for your I'll continue to persevere and pay attention to my will. Thank you.
Yeah, I think because quite many stop there at the air spirit, water spirit, elemental beings of some sort, and they stop there. And then they sort of don't give themselves this push to go through. That is, it seems that almost all of you lack that push. That is sort of also a certain fear because it is like, I remember when I was, I don't know how old I was, 12 maybe, I decided to jump from the 10 meters and I stood there for 3 days, I think, at the 10 meter, but I couldn't push myself to jump. So I never jumped 10 meters. I stopped at 7.5. So I think, and I said, why don't I? I couldn't really move my legs to jump. And I knew it wasn't dangerous, but that is a little equivalent. We have to sort of jump into it and not be afraid. And yeah, well, that is my comment. And I would love to talk to you when you have jumped.
Thank you very much. So it looks like Glenn is next.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, we can.
Oh, great. Okay, so I'm very much starting out still, and I have a question, Are. So one of the most successful, I feel, things that I can do is looking at a light colored wall or object where I more easily see a pattern forming, then light forming, then vortices forming, and I'm able to stay longer in that situation now after practice. The question I have is, am I imagining a path? Okay, so conceptually, from what you said before, going through, merging through, fading through, you are, de facto on a path. But I've noticed more and more that what I look at now amongst these vortices appears like some kind of landscape, and I can kind of see a route through.
Hmm.
Is that a false picture? Because that seems to be to me where I should try to go, and I kind of am almost moving a bit through this kind of picture in front of me. So a question, is that at all, on the right
Then,
track, or is it just my imagination?
then I have a little advice there. When you see this landscape, try to look at things that are furthest away
Yeah.
and concentrate on these things because that will pull you through.
Okay, thank you.
It is like going in the mountains in slightly foggy with a compass. You have to take the compass direction to one thing furthest away, and then you go there, and then you take a new compass direction from there, again furthest away.
Thank you.
That is how I have done it all the time. You see this landscape, and then you see what is furthest away, and then you will to go there. And
Okay,
don't
thank
indulge in the surroundings too much, because then you stop yourself.
you. Mhm.
You must all the time be aware of where you are going. You are going forward, and that is that. In all the Norwegian fairy tales, when they move into this elemental land or spiritual land, they always see what they call the mountain that is blue, that is furthest away. That is a standing expression in all the fairy tales of the Grimm and the Norwegian fairy tales. You must look at the furthest mountain and then you go there. Furthest away mountain. If you look at what is close, then you are lost.
Okay, I look forward to that. I'll try to head out for the Blue Mountain. That sounds great.
Yeah. And the blue is always the furthest away
Yeah,
mountain.
exactly. The furthest one. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So Hanech is next.
Hi, Are. So last time when I asked you, my question was about like not engaging the back when I did the exercises. So this month, I was able to just do from one hand to the next hand on the. I was working with doing it the 4 different bodies.
Okay.
From one hand to the other.
Yes.
And and then this time I was able to not engage the energy in the back, so just moving the hand one place to the other, and I feel like there's the energy moving from the one place to the other, but I'm not. It's hard to distinguish the different bodies, so I'm like. I'll do the 4 exercises the way you described in the last class, and am I able to feel the difference in the other hand when the hand moves? I don't know if I can see it. I have a sense that it's moving, but I don't see it. I do feel a little thing that is moving in the other hand where I'm placing the etheric, the astral, and the elemental, and so it's hard for me to distinguish. Like if I were to say, that's the astral, I'm not, and I don't know if maybe there's something that is missing, or is it's about more practice. Yeah.
I think you for the first you don't see it. That is not
Okay.
expected.
Okay.
You should only feel it, and I think you should practice with somebody else and not yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can
And
practice with an animal or a horse.
mhm,
Horses are very sensitive. They feel this immediately.
mhm.
But then
Okay.
you have to go to a stable.
What? Yeah. And the only one that I can that when I do the one with the warmth, I do feel like I could see a lot of vibration. Like you really, there's a lot of vibration there.
Hmm.
And the other thing is that when I've been kind of like looking at the trees from my window, and I will just perceive, just focus on perception and not like concept, just focusing on the senses.
Yeah.
And then I start to see the blurry. Yeah.
Yeah. And then you have to just continue that. That is the first step. You take the
Mhm.
second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth. Just continue.
So to continue, it would be really to stay longer or
Go deeper.
go deeper. And but how do like the mechanics of going deeper is just like to just intend. It's just through intention, right? Or is there something that
No,
I'm miss?
you see something.
Mm-hmm.
First, you often see it starts to move. It starts
Mm-hmm.
to move, and then you just go into the movement without conceptualizing.
Yeah.
Then you see some form or some pattern. You go into it without conceptualizing again. That is to go deeper because that is layer after layer after layer after layer. So yes, you go further, but you don't go through it because there are all these levels inside it, the tree. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So I have my little report. I've been practicing raising hands is for my super sensible sheets. And looks like I have a best result with my elemental body. And so I'm practicing all of them. So, and I feel when I'm using, for example, ether body, my ether hands. So, and applying those ether hands on my organs. So I'm moving them, applying, so it gives a very interesting healing effect. Specifically, I can feel I'm not feeling well in my area of heart when I'm working with computer for a long time. And, if I'm doing this kind of gesture, but by my etheric hands. So it's helps a lot. But same thing with my lower body organs too. So it was interesting. So, but for some reason, it's my elemental body when I'm imagining like blueprint of my hands and skeleton and maybe veins and muscles. So, and I'm trying to stand up with my body and move forward when I'm concentrating, for example, on door handle. So, and it gives certain effects. So it's door handles start to move in my vision. So it's coming down usually. So it looks like I reached certain things. So, and you told us, so when like physical realities start to move or shake, so it's some kind of result. So I'm spending time every day with candle, which is not giving any result, but it's interesting. So it gives some interesting side effect because I'm pretty bad with this media, with candle fire, but as Leland described, so I immediately joining spirits of air in the sunlight, so they are moving and dancing. So, and this is exactly what Steiner described those elemental beings. And Leland, maybe you will be interested to hear. So it's interesting because when I'm laying in my bed before night sleep, and I cannot, for example, fall into sleep, so I'm looking at my white sheets. So everything starts to move almost immediately because I can see totality of elemental beings behind. They are not nice looking. They looks like insects, but sometimes they look like black and white flowers, which are just going and moving. And it's interesting. So I've been experimenting and looking on this media about like 2 or 3 days ago. And finally, it's turned into light picture. So it was like a picture almost looked like you're watching TV. And it's interesting because I saw some kind of technical gadget. So it's kind of machine. And I've been actually experiencing that totality of some structures, maybe elemental beings, are coming and they are forming this particular gadget with wheels. It looks like car, maybe something else. I don't remember exactly. But what's interesting, I didn't forget. So it's still staying in my memory. So I was pretty conscious, and but full description, it was halfway night dream-like condition, but in an awakening stage. So this is my little report.
That looks very much like the second realm of the elemental world, that where you can actually observe mechanical structures. I'm quite sure that Keely went to the second realm, the mechanical occultism, to make his car move. Well, thank you. is also very much like I would have described it. It's very good to hear. Thank you.
Well, but the most important thing, like a dark picture of elementals of on the cotton sheet, turned into absolutely light picture, which is almost like a square or screen on the computer. Light, totally light. So
Did
it
the
was.
light come from the center of the being?
Say again?
Did the light come from the center?
No. It was a light picture, like I'm looking on a TV screen.
Yeah, but okay, so it came from all over the creature.
Yeah, it's not. It wasn't coming. It was really like look like picture.
Okay.
I'm not sure about origin of this slide, but I'm just looking in the window. I'm not looking like movie on my computer, so it looks like this.
Because you see, every time when I work with patients, I observe this dark elemental being who is pathological elemental being. And when you then become aware of it, and sometimes it's enough to become aware of it. You don't have to open the middle and invite Christ in. More and more, it is enough to become aware of it. It lightens up. It becomes a light being. But this light usually starts in the heart, the middle, and then spreads out. So in just a few seconds, it's like a light being. And it might be that when you then observe it, that is enough because you bring Christ with you, probably. And several have said that it is enough to observe the pathological elemental beings with the human consciousness that is aware of Christ, and that only that will start to change.
Yeah, thank you. So, but I'm also doing daily meditations for evening and for morning, which was given by Rudolf Steiner in Helsinki during this particular course. What you usually mention. So, but it's interesting. It was given during a particular address to Russian anthroposophists, and this is part of GA. And I find this particular meditation, which is relates to Christ, it's pretty much in the evening. Christ is talking to you. Well, I will try to translate, but I cannot do it immediately. And in the morning, and actually, it must be light from your heart. Very short meditation. And in the morning, you talking to Christ, not Christ talking to you, but you talking to Christ, and light comes out of third eye area. So maybe it also helps a little. Because to me, I mean, it's specifically this particular meditation was attached to the lecture, what you usually mention. Remember, this is April 3rd, 1912. Those significant exercises in lecture number 1. So how to observe it. It's all from me.
Thank you.
Sure.
I got something to think about. I was actually thinking about when you was telling about these things that you had a certain benefit by being Russian, Slavic. And then you say it because that is a little closer it seems that these more Slavic people, Eastern, have a more natural ability to bring Christ into the elemental.
Well, I mean, yes, I mean, these Russians are I mean, general, all those three folks they described as folk of Christ because they have right relation to it. So they're treating Christ as life spirit, not somebody who was living long ago, but somebody who is always with you. So, but it's also related to geographical position of Russia. You know, it's a certain stream goes from Constantinople and from black area of Caspian Sea, which is Scapianos Alps.
Yeah.
So, and I'm Russian, but I'm in America. So that's why probably I'm observing something technical. All right, sorry I'm talking too much. So, yeah, Well is next. Well, Elliot? Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Finally. Hi, everyone. Good to see you again. So my experience has been kind of similar to Leland. And I do also feel when I do walk in nature, there is a little bit more of a connection when I'm moving through. But I'm wondering if you can give me a little bit of insight because I'm having what I perceive as a little bit of a stalled area. So I can perceive these beings around me, and I'm just not sure if I'm engaging my will enough. And I'll tell you where I get distracted, if that's the right term. But if I'm sitting, firstly, I find it difficult to look. My eyes tend to get really sensitive and they get tired. I do most of my meditations early in the morning and, like 6, so the sun is just starting to come up. It's not too bright. But I tend to, as I sit there, I become more and more aware of sensations in my body. And I'm not particularly having that many thoughts about them, but it just seems like my awareness goes more and more to sensations like I'm cold or I'm hungry or my foot hurts or something like that, something kind of distracting. I'm wondering if you have any suggestion, because I'm thinking this may be a will force that I have to somehow push through this, but I'm not sure how.
Well, what you describe is described by quite many, especially the eyes. They start to water and hurt and distract you. And we had that exercise down in Stavanger just a week ago. And one of the participants was, every time she started to fade, the eye started to hurt. So at the end, I said, just don't care about it. Accept the pain, accept the, and that is quite often. I remember with me years ago, there came bodily reactions, but you had sort of not to care about it. You could actually say, come pain, bless me. That is what I would say. Just don't be distracted, even if you get, even if you think you die from this, but just go on and not be distracted. That is what I would say. Comment on what you said.
I really like what you said because it's strange, and I haven't told many people this, but if I'm feeling some kind of a pain, whatever, stomach ache, headache, if I go into that pain and just settle in. It's really weird, but I keep wondering if that's an invitation to the spiritual world, because when I do go into, say, like a headache, it starts to vanish. It's almost like it starts to go away, and then something else morphs, and I start noticing my attention becomes more expansive. And it's almost like pain is a gateway. And that's what I wasn't sure. Is it good to pursue that and see where it takes me?
Yeah, I totally agree with you. Pain is also something you can fade into, and that is a portal. Have you read there is a book written in late 1800 by Jack London, and I read it in a Norwegian translation. It's
Call
called
of the Wild.
what?
The Call of the Wild.
Yeah, he wrote The Call of the Wild, among others, but he wrote a book which is called The Restriction. I don't know the English name. You know, in old prisons in 200 years ago, if the prisoner didn't behave properly, they put them in a restraint sheet, and they were sort of had to lie in this for some days. Restriction sheets. I don't know the English name,
Oh,
actually.
like a straight jacket where you can't move your arms?
Yes, yes. And that was a punishment. And Jack London wrote about this punishment in 1860. And you get pain, and you get it's terrible to this punishment. But he just went into it, and he went through it, and he went back to former lives and the spiritual world. So actually, Jack London was writing about this reincarnation and going into the spiritual world in the 1860 or something. And it is so exact. So I was amazed how he could write this, and to read this book would be very interesting in this connection, what we talk about, because he described fading so exact. So, have any of you read that book? No?
Yes, The Peregrine of the Star. It is in Spanish, The Peregrine of the Star.
Uh-huh.
The name in Spanish, I don't know in English is the same.
No.
En español es El Peregrino de las Estrellas.
I know it only in Norwegian, not English. So I was only 12, 13 years when I read all of Jack London.
Yeah, Beatrice just put it in the chat. You can take a look. The Pilgrim of Stars. Thank you.
But not many people have read that book, and I have asked several, have you read that book? And almost everybody say no. So I would actually ask you to read that book till next time, all of you. Although I don't know the English title.
It is the Star Rover in English.
The Star Rover.
Rover.
Okay. Yeah. Read that, please.
Okay, will do. Well, are you done? You done as well? Okay, thank you very much. And looks like Nicholas is next.
I'm on Zoom. Zoom. It was my son who tried to get in.
When will then be now? Soon.
Okay,
Yeah,
Nicholas.
very good. Thank you. Question for you, Ara. I have long had a personal relationship with my guardian angel, but I have recently started trying to establish a much closer relationship, and am increasingly feeling that I am trying to look forward to meeting my guardian angel, which shall happen all in good time. But as I start to develop my practices in fading, this being new to me, and I read and I hear and I talk with people, I am not hearing much about how guardian angels participate with us in this. How do they?
Then you have to fade. You know, there are four paths, four doors, and the door of the sun, there you actually meet the angel area. So then you have to fade through the etheric body. Then you meet actually all the angel beings after some time.
All right. But as we go through other doors, will our angel be a silent accompaniment with us? Or,
Of course, yes.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
yes. Yes.
Okay. Mange takk.
Vær så god.
Thank you. So Nancy, please.
Hi, I have a question about the term fading because I had an experience where, as I was staring at the plant, I saw a tube and I felt like I was being drawn quickly down through the tube. It didn't feel like a merging or a disappearing. It felt like a very strong and quick activity.
So you felt, can you sort of describe it? You felt like being pulled through a tube?
I saw the tube. I saw the tube as well as I felt like I was going to go in through the tube.
Yes. I had this in my first book on the Nordic path. I have this description of this tunnel, this tube, and you know, this is actually a very good for also what Nicholas asked about. You have this description, what happens when you die. Then you go through this long tube. You are hearing water, but you don't see it. You are carried on the sticks by Charon, the ferryman. And this was the old, where that is the path of death. And in the end, you see it's light, and through this end, you come into the spiritual world. What is then possible today is to go through the wall of this tube. This wall of this tube is the elemental world. The elemental world is around us, and we can go there. As this was closed for 5,000 years, we couldn't go through that wall. We had to go through. It was only the door of death that was open. And all the old initiations, you had to sort of die. You was lying 3 days in unconsciousness. You were almost dying. That was the old way. Today, we don't have to do that. We have 3 more opportunities. And one is through the elemental world, where you first, of course, meet the elemental beings, and then on the other side, there you come to the angelic part. Then you have the path to the door of the sun, which is partly through the elemental, and then more concerned with the angelic area, because this door opens to the angelic area. The 9 hierarchies, and also, that is a sort of a sad thing, you also open to the 9 evil layers of the earth. So you see, this tube can be used as a starting point for all of these 4 paths. Yeah, that was my comment on that.
Okay.
So just try to go through there and try to go through the wall. Very few have discussed the wall of the tunnel of death. But that is actually the elemental path, the elemental passage.
Nancy, are we good? Excellent. Ari, I have one more little question. So, in one of your books, you mentioned so that you, in dealing with fading, I believe, you use some kind of shock, like artificial shock, in order to penetrate into think, like, stop of breathing or something like this. And
Yeah.
I actually have a problem. So I cannot kind of regulate, I cannot really manage with it. So because, I don't know, instinctively, sometimes I'm using breathing. So because I'm trying to breathe myself in it. So which is probably not quite true. It's too physical. So, or when I'm, for example, doing exercises with my elemental body in order to approach to certain thing, and I'm using something like, door handle or so. So I'm trying to just, imagine myself that I am in elemental body. So this is my skull and skeleton and everything. So, and I'm trying to pretty much like stand up and move forward, just, being in this particular state of consciousness. So it doesn't help so much. When I'm looking at it accidentally, I cannot regulate it accidentally. Like, for example, this door handle or the thing, start to move already. So any suggestions? How I can actually kick myself a little bit forward when I'm, for example, going through a layer of elemental.
What I see helps is when you are on this fading in, if you can kick yourself in the butt.
Okay.
This is, of course, not literally speaking. It's not easy to kick yourself in the butt. But you have to sort of, and this is, I remember I did this for some years. You have to give yourself a little shock.
Yeah.
A little kick. Now I don't do that anymore. Now it goes smooth, but for some years I had to do that. I give myself a little shock. You reminded me actually that I wrote it. Or a little kick. And it's quite interesting if you there is a meditation practice in the East. That is where the guru, he watch all his students meditating, and then he see when they are on almost there to be able to go into the spiritual, then he have a stick and he hit them in the back of the head. This is also in one film. It's called Oh Lucky Man. It's about the follow-up of A Clockwork Orange. And then you had Oh Lucky Man, where this man goes through all these terrible things. And at the end, he is almost on the threshold of the spiritual world, and then a man hits him, he gives him a slap, and then suddenly he's there and everything is good. So this technique of giving yourself a little, not necessarily shock, but some sort of stirring, that is often a very good technique at a certain stage. You don't have to continue with it, but there are, try that, a little shock, kick in.
Can you give me an example, like from your practice? Rudolf Steiner mentioned it in the cases of self-initiation, like, for example, some accident or
Yeah.
can help. But what did you do for yourself? If it's possible.
For the first, I didn't breathe. And then sort of give myself a
little cough.
Yeah, something like that. I don't actually, I remember how did I do that? Or give myself a little fright also. I tried. You stop breathing and then you say, "Oh, I die," and then, or something like that. Pretend dying. That is a little shock. But if you had asked me 20 years ago, I could have answered, or 30 years ago, I could have answered you better. Maybe next time I can remember it.
It will be helpful. I'm trying to do some stuff with breathing. And when I'm, for example, sending my breathing forward, kind of breathing out, it makes some changes in my vision. Very unclear, but it is some changes because some kind of structures or patterns are coming. But as soon as this out breath is finished, they disappear. You know what I mean? So you out breathing, so they are appearing, and then when you stop, they just disappear. Interesting. So, but I'm not sure if it's right way. So, but it's very helpful that you can make a shock. I know in Buddhist monasteries they've been meditating on white wall in 2 rows. I mean, monks, they were sitting near the wall, and one guy, he'd been actually walking back and forth, one of monks, with a club. And then when people raising shoulder, he been giving stroke with club, so to refresh his consciousness. So that's what in my mind.
But you can give yourself consciously a little shock by giving yourself, I cannot say it more. You have to, at a certain stage, you have to, as I said to several, or when I was teaching Pulse and all these things, you had to kick yourself in the butt somehow to get on.
Right. Yeah. So we have to be creative.
They say that about people who don't want to work or don't want to get up in the morning. That is an expression. I guess you have it yourself. You have to kick your own butt to get on with life.
Right. Real impulse. Yeah. Question, just technical questions. So when you're practicing, are you usually sitting, or you can be laying down, or it doesn't matter, or matters?
No, well, in the beginning, I always walked in the forest,
Oh, you've been walking.
like Leland said.
Hmm.
That was always in the forest, moving in the forest, always for the first 20 years. But now, when I started then to diagnose patients, then I just sit in the clinic or sit quiet. But I always did that in the beginning, moving.
Yeah, but when you're meeting, for example, gods like Vidar, Alder, so you've been usually sitting or standing or
Yeah, now it doesn't matter how I do
doesn't
it.
matter.
No. No. Now I can do it wherever I am.
Well, thank
And I
you.
also remember in the beginning, I couldn't be too full, I couldn't be too hungry, I had to be in a certain balance. I even had to be not too clean and not too dirty.
I see.
Yeah.
Balance.
So when I was newly showered, I had problems in going in. If I was too dirty, I had problems.
You
So,
know, Ari,
a day after a shower, the next day would be perfect. Well, I don't shower every day, so I shower twice a week, but the second day was the best. And still
okay.
is. Still is.
Well, thank you. It's so careful. It's so important because you know what? Rudolf Steiner said, to remove all showers from Goethe.
Oh,
Because,
it
no,
did.
truly, because, my wife, she is eurythmist. And specifically for eurythmy practice, I mean, and some people say would like to take a shower like twice a day. So, but in terms of spiritual practice, it's
Yeah.
better do not take a shower too often, or just do not
Yes.
take a shower at all. But instead of shower, just use natural water
Yes. I
because
remember in the beginning when I had patients and was going to make a diagnosis, I couldn't do it the same day that I had showered. I had to wait to the day. So the day I showered, I couldn't have patients. The next day, the second day, or the third day, I could. But then I started to smell, and then I had to have a shower again, and then I couldn't have patients that day.
well, see, it's so important because I feel that's what I know. I mean, because I had long ago some workshop with anthroposophical farmer and Zanastati from Italy, and he's researching water. So water in the shower or something which is coming from the faucet is totally dead because it goes through right angular structure of pipes.
Yeah.
And in fact, in order to drink, or even water flowers, so farmers or people for own use, when they're drinking, they have to do rejuvenation, certain aid forms or revitalization, shaking the jar. So, and of course, when people are taking showers, they're dealing with this particular type of water, which is dead. So that's why maybe. Yeah. All right. Thank you so much. And as I understand, you never fading when you are too full. You're probably partly hungry, a little bit hungry, but still okay, right? Or
So, Andre, that was for 20, 30 years. I found out these things and I found out what I could do and what I couldn't do. But now, when you have done it 200,000 times, then it matters less and less.
well, for beginners, probably it matters.
But for the beginner, it is important. And you will find that out. You will see, but it takes some years. You will see that just after a shower,
Oh, you're frozen. So it's not.
impossible. When you're really hungry, it is impossible. So you will learn all these things, but of course, that you have only trained now for 1 or 2 years, and that is so much you then don't experience, but you will experience all these things. But now I can tell you, and as Steiner said, and Andre also say, and the Eurythmists say, you have to be in a certain limbo, a certain balance, not too full, not too hungry, not too clean, not too dirty, and so on, and so on, and so on.
And of course, I mean, you're probably not drinking alcohol or at all, right?
No,
Not smoking, no.
no.
Yeah, it's good to know. It's such important details.
So I don't know because I never smoked, and it's very long time since I was drunk. So I cannot actually tell you about how that works anymore.
Me too.
But
Okay.
I guess it is not good.
Yeah, Ari, I'm watching time and I see it's still two hands, but we're already working 1 hour and a half. And I would propose if we will not go a little bit more than 2 + 2 hours and 10 minutes, because we have next workshop on same platforms. So are we going to review and add two exercises? So Bonnie and Anthony, they have Bonnie and Anthony, can you guys be very quick because we need time for exercises? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So looks like Bonnie is first.
Yeah. Hi, Ari. First of all, thank you very much for this, and Andre for holding it. I'm wondering if there's a relationship between the 4 ways of raising the hand and the 4 doors. And the second question is, how do we recognize the doors? Which is which? How do we know? Are we in front of the elemental door? Are we in front of the door of death? Is it a feeling? Is it a
No, it's
visual?
okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
How? Yes.
Thank you.
You see, if you use the elemental body, you go on the elemental path and you come to the door of the elements. Of course, you might think you use the elemental body and you use something else, the etheric or astral. But at the elemental door, Vidar is the guardian. And as Jordan said, at the astral door, there are 3 guardians. You ask if you see, when you will always, when you walk on this path and you just penetrate further and further and further, you will meet a guardian or guardians. And you just ask them. They are to be spoken to.
Which is the astral door?
Have answered me when I ask, who are you? What door is this? You will get. Just come to a door and then you ask. You will be answered. And yes, this has to do with this 4 hands that is leading to the 4 doors, right? So yes.
So the door, the Christ door, that's the warmth of the blood, the ego?
Yes.
And the door of death is the structural, the elemental?
No, the door of death is the astral.
Door of death is the astral.
And the door of the elements is the elemental. And the door of the sun is the etheric. That was the best path 100 years ago. That is what Rudolf Steiner described in his 19 lessons. And that's fully a very good path. Although today it might be easier to go the, well, I don't like the word easy, but it is sort of, because that is now opened. So it might be easier to go the elemental first, and then you can go the others.
And is there a sequence, or you can just go to any door you want?
What?
Is there a sequence from elemental to the second, or can you go to any other one?
You can go to the door of your choice, and you can choose the sequence. Steiner also said that you can take one first, or you can take the other first. Many, did he say? Many choose the door of death first. That is the oldest door, sort of, has been open the longest time. But yes, it is to your choosing. It is, you don't have to do one first and then the other and then the third and then the fourth. That I chose the elemental door first. I didn't actually choose it, but I happened to just go on and go on and go on through the elemental world. Just like Joanna von Kaiserlink had a plan when she asked Steiner, can I go through the elemental world and come to the spiritual world? And he said, yes, but it is not time now. It's not the right time to do it. You have to wait 50 years or something.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, Bonnie, are we good? You complete? Okay, so Anthony, please.
Yes, I'll be very quick. A couple of comments. One, you were talking about the fact of the hit in the back of the head to move someone along who was going through possibly an initiation or some type of spiritual activity. Well, I had a friend who crossed the threshold just very recently, and she was known across the country for her work with First Nation people, dedicated her whole life to it. And at one point, she told me that she was at a gathering on Vancouver Island where she was invited to a spiritual ritual there. And she said it was awful. They took a stick and they hit somebody in the back of the head. And at that time, I didn't understand it. And I thought, oh, how awful to hit somebody in the middle of a ritual, the back of the head. But this confirms what you said about pushing the person through.
Yes.
Yeah.
That was a kick in the butt. You can't do a little stick in the back of the head too. You just somewhere. Usually at the back of the body, not the front.
The back. And she said that it was the back. Yeah, but she thought
Yeah.
it was awful for them to do that. At any rate, and then the other thing in relation to washing, when Michelangelo was around the time of doing the Pietà in Rome, he would write back and forth to his family, especially his father. And in one letter that I read about from his father to him, father said, make sure that you're eating well, looking after yourself, but never wash your face.
Oh.
And he said this in the letter. And it's known that Michelangelo even went to bed with his boots on. So there was something about not washing, and probably had to do with the creativity as well. So yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, this washing is actually quite interesting. I have been researching washing and sort of cleanliness my whole life and see how it works spiritually, and it absolutely does. And those who take a shower twice or once a day, they have no idea what they miss.
Good. Thank you.
The soap users will sue me probably.
All right, so Anthony.
I discussed this with a biodynamic farmer just a week ago, and he said that the worst thing with this shower is the soap. You can take a little shower without any soap, then it works. Then you are not sort of washing away the spirituality, you might say.
All right. Anthony, are we good? So you complete? Okay, thank you. All right, dear friends. So shall we ask Ari maybe for new homework, or so we think, or we should stay with our exercises?
Yeah, the new homework is try to be especially hungry, especially full, especially dirty, especially clean, and try do all these different experiences, push yourself to different limits, and then try to fade in these different situations. Because it seems to me, you know, I did that very much for years around 2030 to find out how I could do this better. And there were so many. I also found, for example, if I had a nail, I'm a hobby carpenter. So if I put a nail with a hammer, I couldn't. This vibration in the hands destroyed also the ability to fade into the elemental. Today it's no problem, but at that time it did. So you have to try to be aware, try different aspects of life, I would say, and then see how it works to go into the spiritual world. Another thing I found when I was younger, sex was also stopped it totally for at least 24 hours. But that is no big problem for, and when I look at all of you, no big problem maybe anymore. We get old.
I see.
So you can also try that. And then we can discuss the results next time.
You know, Ari, Steiner recommended for some people to smoke.
Yeah, try
But
that.
he been smoking too.
I think you see, I think these all what I've been talking about now, or we're talking about, it is quite individual. It's not the same for all. I think some will do it better when they are this or that or whatever. This is individual, but generally it is, I must say, it is not too much in any way, not too clean, not too dirty, and so on and so on. But try it out and share your experiences next time. That is the homework.
Okay.
Calibrate your body.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, dear friends, any questions? So we still have time for it. Please use it. So you don't have to buy air tickets and go in Norway and meet Ari face to face. You can ask right now.
Or you can also send a mail.
You can send emails, but be polite, please.
I usually answer.
So Ari, I have some ideas during my 4 exercises, which was given by you. So I've been sitting still, but I did in different bodies eurythmy gestures. For example, sound A or O. And I've got an idea. So, for example, if people are practicing eurythmy, those gestures or those channels which you created through everyday practice, they staying for you with you for a long time. Do you know what I mean? Like, for example, if you're doing same kind of so it will be present in etheric for a long time. So maybe that's why Steiner called it like, way of, important way of spiritual development, spiritual occult development, doing Eurythmy. And you're pretty much kind of extending your astral or etheric body outside of your physical body, and it's staying with you for a longer time. So days or for months or
Good
By the
idea.
way, by the way, some eurythmists, they are living more than 100 years. Specifically artistic eurythmists.
Andre, could I still bring something about eurythmy?
Yeah.
I forgot I was going to share this today. I'm working on the clairvoyance, clairaudience, this new clairvoyance, and I had a dream that I was doing eurythmy, the eurythmy L, and I looked around. I was in a class, and I looked around, and everybody else was doing the L around the ears, and I thought, well, this reminds me of the Christ that you were talking about, the picture of Christ with the halo and the three streams of light coming from the halo. And I'm thinking, this is the clairaudience, clairvoyance. And why not have a eurythmy exercise that can stimulate or activate that inner hearing, that inner sight? And so I've been doing the eurythmy around the third eye crown and the eurythmy around the ears. And I don't know if that's the end of it. There might still be like a sequence of eurythmy movements to stimulate it and to activate it. And that was what I wanted to share. I don't know if you have any comments or if anyone does.
Bonnie, my wife, she's a therapeutic eurythmist, and specifically, she is a specialist in eye and tooth eurythmy. So she's working with children which are even in 6th grade, so they didn't change the tooth. So, which is strange. So, and she does all kind of strange eurythmy gestures. By fingers, for example. But what I try to do, if you can stay still with your physical body, but do eurythmy with your super sensible members, with astral, with etheric, and finally with body of warmth. And by the way, do you know that body of warmth, this is ego. So this is human ego, because human ego, this is body of warmth. So, and if you can imagine human being as, do you know some kind of scanners like in airports or what? So they can show you in the form of differentiation of temperatures. Like, for example, your head is warm, and certain organs, they are less warm or very cold, legs, for example. So this particular unique differentiation of each human being is very individual. It's unique. So, like, for example, my hands is always hot. Hands of my wife, it's always cold for some reason. Maybe that's why she is eurythmist karmically. Body of warmth. So same thing with it. Sorry if I'm talking too much, Ari.
No.
I don't want to steal the show.
I cannot talk for 2 hours, so I'm very happy that somebody else talk a little.
Okay. Yeah. Well, now, this is it. Yeah.
is coming, and I put on the lights.
Oh, it's evening. It's still day here in Chicago.
I guess. Yes. Here it is. Night is approaching.
Andre, I can't find my little hand. I've been searching down in the bar and I can't find my little participation hand.
Is it Lois?
It's Lois, yeah.
Yeah, you are Eurythmy, Lois. You have very strange relationships to Ariman, like my wife. She cannot do anything with
Yeah, sometimes he hides things. And right now I'm dealing with little gnomes in the refrigerator and around. I'm looking for something and I open the fridge. I can't see it. And then I go, okay, come on. And then there it is.
there is a little heart in the bottom. If you put your arrow in the bottom on your screen, all those icons will appear.
Yes.
There is heart with react. Maybe it will be a little different. Emojis or emotions or. Can you click on it?
I've clicked on it and I don't have the little hand. Oh, there it is.
No, raise hand. This is button. Raise hand. Click on it now.
Look what I got.
I cannot see your hand yet.
I can't find when I clicked on a hand, it made little hands going up across the screen. I'm just reactions. I've got clapping. I've always had the hand before, but there it is. Have I got the hand up now?
Yeah.
Okay.
So go ahead, forward. Yeah, so we have still time. Yeah.
I wanted to address the eurythmy that you brought up, Andre. I think this is really important, is doing eurythmy in different aspects. And we have it in, the figures that Rudolf Steiner did for each of the sounds and the soul gestures and major and minor. They have 3 colors. And those colors are the dress is the etheric body. It's called the movement. And the veil is the astral body. And that is the atmosphere, the color that you give to it. Oh, they're all color, and then there's a cross-hatching in a color that is meant to be the ego into the physical body, that you put your focus wherever it is. There'll be crosshatches here, or sometimes they're in the dress 1.5 feet in front of your legs, and you're supposed to feel the physical body there. And I joke about that in my classes, but if you want to feel the etheric of a sound, you focus on the movement. If you want to feel the astral, you focus on the veil, you focus on what's around you. So that's the way you get in these exercises. If you're doing, I'm going to step back a little bit. If you're doing an ah, and you focus on how the soul is moving out of the body and streaming through the hands, and in the room, you move it on an angle forward, and it's this movement is the etheric body. And then if you feel that with the awe, you have these ice blue points going out. So if you go like this and feel these ice blue points going out, you're in the astral body. He's grafted out beautifully. So if you look online at the Eurythmy figures, they'll come up. So M, you've got this movement through. And if you focus on the blocks around it, it's like, how the air and the water kind of move in these blocks? If you feel that these blocks going around and the color of them, you're in the astral. If you feel how it's moving, you're in the etheric. So I think that would be my little contribution to using eurythmy because in eurythmy, the astral, etheric, and the ego into the physical body are carefully delineated. So we really have a feeling for the three.
Yeah, thank you very much. So I always feel, because, when Rudolf Steiner crossed threshold, so he left Eurythmy in the form of embryo yet. And it still needs some development, but proper development. I know a lot of stuff going on in Europe, which is not quite, I would say, healthy. But, here in America, specifically in Spring Valley, I know you're kind of critical for it, but I think they still carrying very, very good tradition of Eurythmy. But I cannot see so much of development. I mean, practical development.
Well, no, Spring Valley, I was critical of at the time when I entered the school. Dorothea Meir took over after there was a big kerfuffle and a battle between Stuttgart and Dornach as to who would control America. It was then. And then Dorothea Meir took over, and she was wonderful. I was in that class that went through that crisis. And she came in and really brought this beautiful poetic potency. But what I was taught and the premise of graduating from a Eurythmy training is that you have formed a relationship with the being of Eurythmy who approached Rudolf Steiner and said, "It's my time to come through." And I think just as Are is working with these immediate spiritual impulses that you reach on your own, a direct pathway into the spiritual world and speak to the beings. This is why I love Are's work. It's immediate today. This is your own path, and you're going to meet the being that should speak to you when you talk to them. In Eurythmy, we have the same thing, Andre. You go to the being of Eurythmy. And you just do that by being very open to the gestures that you're doing and really live in them. And then you get what the new spiritual movements are calling downloads. You get these downloads, you get this information streaming into you as you're doing the work. I think that's where the new is. And maybe people aren't talking about that, but I think that's where the new in anthroposophy is entirely, is opening ourselves to the path and walking it now in real time.
And Louis, I have a question for you. Because you demonstrated how you with Eurythmy could come into the etheric, into the astral, into the I. At the time of Rudolf Steiner, the elemental was closed. How can you, and I'm sure you could find a as easy way to get into the elemental body or elemental world with the Eurythmy. How?
I'm working with this. I am working with this.
Thank you. Then I look forward to your answer.
Yes, what I've taken as a starting point was a diagram that was published by Meyer, Thomas Meyer, in his report on the people working to counterbalance the results from the injections. It was a document that was sent out, I don't forget how many pages, but in that, they produced diagrams showing a figure and where the bodies are normally, and then what they're seeing after the injections. And in the normal body, they had the elemental body drawn in the drawing. And where they placed it, again, I'm going to come back a little bit. Where they placed it, I was right here. It was in this area. And I remember I was always experimenting in Eurythmy. I'd be experimenting on my own and come into class, and Proskauer would look at me and go, "Stop that. What are you doing?" I'd have tried something that didn't work. But I remember feeling I had seen, I think, Marguerite Lundgren from London do Eurythmy, and I felt she wasn't moving from the collarbone. She was moving from this area. And I tried that, and it was met with approval. I didn't speak out what I was doing. But there is a different power in eurythmy if you don't go from the collarbone into the space and from the heart chakra, but go a little bit lower. And I'm just putting that together with the elemental body. I think in eurythmy, if you drop yourself down more into solar plexus area, or just go just below the heart region, or just get below the collarbone anyway, and move forward into space from there, there's a very different power in it. And now that you raised the question, I'm going to work on it even more. I'll report back. But I think it has to do with this body, because we work with basically from the tips of your hands down to below the knees is more the soul body, and we have to work to get it under the feet. But this is different. It's sort of a little out front and lower. So I'll let you know. Now that you asked the question, that's giving me prod to progress.
That feels more grounded, that kind of movement.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
I worked with Marguerite.
Did you?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
did you? Was I right? Did you feel
Yeah.
that?
Feels more grounded. That's what I'm saying. And she was more of an earthly being. Even when she was relaxing, she would kind of lean against the wall and be in her hips. She was very grounded. Thank you for that. That was wonderful.
Thank you, friends. So we still have question from Jordan or some statement. Jordan, go ahead.
Just quickly, the door that is behind Vidar, the door to the outer etheric, to move through that door, is that still we're using the elemental body?
No, you see, when you have reached the doors, yes, but when you pass the door, then you are in the spiritual.
And then the door that's behind Vidar is the outer etheric, right?
Yeah, and then you come to different parts of the spiritual world. So that is something else.
Okay. And then I can say, actually, I was glad that she brought up the solar plexus, because when we were talking about really using our will to travel, when we were in Vancouver, gosh, whenever that was, maybe two Novembers ago now, and I had never traveled before, and we were working on these exercises. That's what I noticed to be most helpful when pushing myself forward. It did feel like I had to use a tremendous amount of will, and specifically my solar plexus region. And even now, that's where I feel like I travel most from, is lower in the solar plexus. So maybe that'll be helpful to other people. But there is a tremendous amount of will and kicking in the butt that does have to happen. I feel like to get to the point of Vidar and just keep going. Determination and discipline as well have really helped.
Absolutely. We should find a date, Andre.
Yeah, so can we take one more question from Harry?
Okay.
Harry, he is Central European, so it's precious. Okay, Harry, go ahead. Unmute your machine, please. Unmute. Harry, we cannot hear you. Harry. Unmute.
Yes, ich habe unmuted.
Excellent.
Also,
Go ahead.
ich wollte noch zu der Eurythmie was sagen. Ich habe die Ilona Schubert auch erlebt. Und wie
Change the language, please. Change the language into switch to English.
Sorry. I was in Dornach. I'm a speech former, and I am joining the classes of Ilona Schubert, and she emphasized also to put the center also in the heart, that the heart is in the movement a very a very important way of getting your eurythmy into a real experience. That's what I wanted to say. Ilona Schubert, I see her for me. Yeah. Good. That is what I had to say. You?
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
All right. So let's okay. Let's set next date. Dear Ari, so I would like to propose so we'll have like a good rhythm, which is 1 month between meetings with you. So, and we already set next theoretical workshop for April, I believe, 26, right? 26. So, and we're looking next month for practical, which will be May. So if it will be May in the neighborhood of 20s.
24th of May.
24th of May, I think it's great.
Yeah.
Any objections, friends, for 24th? I think if Ari will be available, so we can work around.
Written down.
That is the Memorial Day weekend.
Memorial Day weekend. So any objections for Memorial Day? So you celebrating or what? I'm fine. I mean, it's just I know people in US going outside and doing barbecue, I believe, or what you guys doing? All right. If it's no objections, I think it's totally fine. I think May 24th is great. Yeah.
I'm sorry, you have give two date, 26th of April and 24th of May. What is the difference between both?
Oh, okay, Beatrice, looks like you are new. So we have 2 lines of workshops. One line is practical. This is practicums. I call it practicums with Ari. And second line, it's something which is already started like 2 or 2.5 years ago. So they are mostly tending for question and answers, theoretical. So it will be theoretical on May 24th. And it will be, it will be practical on May 24th, and it will be theoretical number 14 on April 26th. So this is the answer. So please mark your calendars. So, all right, dear friends. So I feel we are complete for today. So big exchange. So thank you very much for participation, and thank you very much, Ari, for giving
Thank you.
workshop.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Happy
Thank
spring to all of us.
Thank you,
And,
Ari.
I thank
Thank
you.
you,
I
everyone who contributed.
more and more
Wow.
every time. Thank you.
okay, goodbye, friends.
Good.